How do you protect your hair while you sleep? Mine is quite unconventional. I put it in either a loose braid or just a low ponytail, but then I put it in a really fuzzy sock and twist it into a bun. I had 2-foot-long curls that always tangled at night, broke and got so frizzy. The sock keeps it from friction damage and keeps it still so it doesn't tangle. I might get attacked for this. I don't know if it's cultural appropriation. I have stupidly fine hair, but a lot of it. Tried everything for sleeping but it not so easily. I saw an ad for a small business near me, a black woman making satin bonnets and saying all hair types should be using these for sleeping. So I purchased from her. I braid my hair, put the bonnet on and it's a world of a difference. It actually grows now instead of snapping off at a specific length, healthier and thicker. I have long hair that's bleached so I'm really careful with it most of the time. Recently I've been either plaiting my hair and putting it in a satin bonnet or using foam rollers and putting it in a satin bonnet, depending on how I want to style my hair the next day, down or with vintage type curls. Before I started just wearing bonnets, I would use a silk pillowcase and keep my hair in plaits or a loose bun. I've found it to be the best way, but I also like to use oil in my hair regularly as that really helps with some of the dry type issues I experience with bleached hair. I use satin pillowcases but have been looking into a satin bonnet. I want to try one but have wondered how well they stay on and if anyone with migraines uses them. I get frequent migraines so not sure if something like that around my head would cause more. I have really long hair almost down to my, very little texture and I'd say, medium thick. Honestly I just make sure it isn't open. Sometimes I'm lazy and a bun is all I manage, sometimes I braid it. I'd if I'm bad at it, but headscarves and such stand no chance. They're off my head before I even fall asleep. Black woman here. When my hair is in box braids, I wear a satin headscarf, and this is mostly to protect my edges and keep the tops of my braids from getting fuzzy while I sleep. When I'm not wearing braids, my natural hair is usually in 2-strand twists, so I wear a satin bonnet then for overall protection. Keeps my twists in place and neat in the morning. Hair so long I can tuck it into my pants and I don't do anything. Just need to brush it in the morning, and it's less tangled than compared to how it is in the afternoons. But I have fine straight hair so my hair type might be why I can get away with it. What are some of the most infuriating female stereotypes you sick of seeing in TV shows, books, or movies? Women who are more feminine/conventionally attractive and like makeup, fashion, etc. are seen as dumb while the smart women are dressed very dowdy and presented as more attractive. The Big Bang Theory is the worst example of this. Women can be smart and like to look feminine or wear pretty things. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Someone putting care into their appearance, or liking to shop doesn't make them any less intelligent than someone who doesn't like those things. The single sister/best friend who is a constant mess and kook because she's single and it's her whole personality as well as her obsession with dating and searching for the one so she can have what her friend has. Characters that stick out are Aunt Jackie, Roseanne, Lisa Stemple, Mad About You, Monica Geller, Friends, who had a great career and was organized, but treated marriage as an accomplishment. Alex Forrest, Fatal Attraction, and female Disney villain. And a close relation to this issue is the trope that every female character has to end with being married and or having a baby. It's too long to list. Kick Combat Woman, defeating a group of men in a physical fight, making it look easy. It's not just unrealistic, it's a dangerous thing to teach. It's a new thing, but in modern movies a man is almost never allowed to defeat a woman in combat. We see it everywhere, we get used to it. But in reality it's the opposite. An average man will defeat several women. It's kind of okay if she's built like that girl from Mandalorian, actress is a real-life fighter, or Brienne of Tarth. But someone like Black Widow? Nope. That any woman who gets any kind of power, has a backbone, or knows how to fight/stand up for herself is bound to go insane and be evil or abuse her power. We get it already. You don't think women should be strong or have feeling other than what is influenced or pushed on them by their male counterparts. Also the idea that the woman who doesn't want children all of a sudden gets pregnant and just decides yeah I'll keep this baby with zero discussion about possible options, implying we all want kids, we just don't always know it until you knock us up. Toxic and honestly just plain BS. Corpu girls who only live to work. It's either they have a low-skill job or a total career freak. You can be up on the corporate ladder and still want a family and be a good mother or even just a kind human being. They tend to dismiss any feminine trait when they want to make women appear tough and strong. If you were hungry right now, and could eat absolutely anything, anywhere, what would it be? I studied abroad in Japan in college and there was little hole-in-the-wall shop where I used to get pork katsu. That was like 15 years ago and I think about the food in Japan all the time. Right now would be some heroin from Afghanistan. I can't even think about food at the min without projectile vomiting. On methadone program tapering down but would love to experience the feeling just once more and the relief it brings to the pain in my mind, body and soul. She crab soup topped with sherry and fresh focaccia bread to mop it up. My favorite Ethiopian restaurant's vegetable platter which has the most bangin' diniquat on the planet, along with every other yummy veg they make. Hot and sour soup with the lilies still in it from a place that closed before I was an adult. Best H&S soup ever. Pickled baby corn. My favorite seafood restaurant closed during COVID. I would kill to have another bowl of lobster bisque with their fresh baguette and a boiled lobster main with corn cob and baked potato. Simple, but they made it perfectly every single time and I loved it. A veal sandwich with provolone cheese from Uno Mostaccio in the St. Lawrence Market, Toronto. As a Canadian expat living in New Zealand, there's just some food I can't get here, and I miss it. Right now it's a tie between the diced filet mignon at Benihana with that ginger sauce and the gazpacho at one of the Columbia restaurants here in Florida. Hungarian mushroom soup in my Budapest studio in the 7th district, or mushroom rigatoni in some lonesome little medieval village in Tuscany. Homemade veggie burgers in Byron Bay, I couldn't really decide. My grandmother's kitchen in Mexico. Fresh, refried beans with chorizo and eggs, a rolled up, fresh corn tortilla on the side, and some nasty instant coffee, with sugar and fresh milk that was just boiled. Sometimes birds would fly in and I would sprinkle crumbs under the table for them. There was this hole-in-the-wall Nando's knockoff in Kingston upon Thames that had this delicious marinated grilled chicken and fries. It's too bad I'm on the wrong side of the pond. There also used to be this poutine pop-up stand over in London. That poutine was absolute perfection. Couldn't really decide between these. There is this place in Spokane, Washington called Frank's Diner that has the best eggs Benedict, with steak instead of ham, that I've ever had. I visited almost 4 years ago and still think of that diner often. I would go back just for that meal. Single men, why is there hardly anything in your fridge? I like to be able to see the back of the fridge personally. For me, if I can't see everything I will forget about it. Then it'll go bad and be wasted. I really hate creating food waste, so I try not to do that and basically freeze whatever I think can be frozen lol. Otherwise I don't really care much about food. I'm content drinking Soylent a lot of days. I buy that in bulk and whip it up when I don't feel like making real food. I threw a party last night. Literally have too much food in my fridge right now even after getting friends to take leftovers come. Like, 2.5 pizzas, 3 half-full Costco-sized containers of various dips, and a whole bunch of fruits, meats, and cheeses that didn't make it onto the charcuterie board, and 2 pounds of chicken that expires today. I'll probably throw the chicken on the grill for dinner tonight, freeze the pizza, and take everything else to my parents' house for Thanksgiving munchies. My fridge is empty, but my freezer is full. Frozen vegetables etc. I save tons of money instead of buying fresh things, and then I change my mind with cooking and the food is rotting. If I need something I buy it and consume it immediately, or I buy it knowing it will be gone in less than a week. This way I spend around 60% less on food and my food waste is cut over 90% because the leftover are eaten or put in the freezer. For me it has to do with environmental awareness and saving tons of money per year. Also it prevented me from buying tons of sweet things and unnecessary things. Because I don't buy a lot of processed foof, they don't need to go to the fridge. I usually just buy 1 to 2 days worth of food at a time. I weirdly enjoy going to my local grocery store every day. Having some exposure to lots of people who are going about their day-to-day life is oddly calming to me. Also I find that when I buy a week's worth of food, I don't fancy a lot of the stuff I bought later on in the week, so buying in smaller batches helps me waste less. I also just don't eat a lot of fridge food in quad. My fridge typically just has an oven meal, 4 yogurts and a bottle of Pepsi Max in it. The rest of the food I eat in a day is non-fridge food. Because it's inefficient to feed yourself alone and DoorDash is easy when you can afford it. But keep doing it anyway when you should stop and cook for yourself every night. But then again, who are you trying to impress when you live alone, so long as you keep things clean for when you do have guests, because your living space is an extension of your mind and taking care of yourself is important. What good experiences have you had opening up and being vulnerable? To cut a long story short, at the thus far lowest point in my life I checked myself into a psychiatric ward. I learned that I can be open, vulnerable, and not being taken advantage of. It is an ongoing process. It helps that I am quite open about the challenges and troubles in my life, and seldom take things others say to me in the heat of a moment to heart. Honestly, it possibly is a childishly stubborn way of viewing things, but I refuse to be hurt by things I shared. With my current partner, for lack of a better word, this approach works quite well. I told her very early on that I will not keep things from her, but that my emotions are mine to share, and that I expect her to keep our conversations in that regard private. One of my best friends is a woman, and we have over the last 15 years had several therapy sessions where we unpack whatever life crisis one or both of us are currently going through, be it relationships, careers, dead pets, family drama or whatever. It's been constructive for the most part. Occasionally we might veer into enabling our behaviors or just have a big old bitch fist where we get to whine and be drunk for an evening. But it always feels better afterwards. My wife, while she does use what I open up with occasionally as a weapon when she's upset about losing an argument or disagreement, I usually ignore it and give her the cold shoulder after settling the dispute until she apologizes. Besides occasionally dealing with that, she's very supportive and very helpful with making things comfortable for me to try to sort things out. Also, she's not American, so I don't have the same issues a majority of other American guys have with worrying about the American girls there, with seeing them as lesser and cheating because of it, because she was raised to have values of self-dignity and loyalty in marriage, which makes me worry a ton less about opening up to her emotionally. With all my friends, at least the ones I have now, I don't really have specific answers. It's just a common thing I'm able to do now. And my ex was also someone that was very nice to open up to, until we broke up the first time. Then after that day, she was a different person and has been ever since. She never explicitly used anything against me, but she had zero patience if I had any insecurities and would just snap at me to calm down. That person I had known for years just seemingly ceases to exist now. But before that, it was very positive. She is the reason, despite what happened after, I found the friends I have now to open up to. I'd have kept to myself if it weren't for her initial caring nature.